work to be done. If that can happen, there may need to be some decisions on both ends for that to happen. All right, so now to Ed Bouchette from The Athletic. He tweeted this saying he just talked to Big Ben and he said, I don't care about my pay at all this year. He's willing to restructure a contract that has a $41 million cap hit for 2021 that includes $19 million in bonus salary that can be restructured. Of course, those numbers are what Ben already would have if they didn't restructure this. Let's bring in Adam here and the guys. But we start with you, Adam. You hear that from Rooney and then Big Ben's response. What do you think they're going to do here?
Well, listen, if they want Ben back, they're going to have to restructure that contract. They can't have the largest cap number of any player in the NFL at a time where the cap is expected to go down due to the pandemic. And so there are issues for this team to have to look at. And you take a look right there, Laura, at all the players and all the cap numbers that are sitting out there right now that are scheduled for the 2021 season. And again, there seems to be a little bit of a question with each of these players, oddly enough. Ben Roethlisberger, again, we want to see what happens with his contract or whether he wants to play. Matt Ryan, the Falcons could be drafting a player. Aaron Rodgers, you heard his comments this week. I'll let him speak for himself. Drew Brees, expected to retire. Carson Wentz, his future's up in the air there in Philadelphia, as is the case with Jared Goff. So a lot of questions around a lot of big-name quarterbacks, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they believe that Ben Roethlisberger is willing to come back and play, but there is work to be done between both sides to make that happen.
Yeah, Adam, it's really interesting. That's a peculiar list that all those guys really are in question of some sort, whether it's them questioning themselves or maybe other questions. So, Dan, what do you think about Big Ben, especially his willingness to restructure, right? He gets that he's going to have to do that.
Yeah, Laura, his salary drop would have to be as big as my ears look with these daggum earbuds in right now. My
People
ears
think they're earrings, Dan.
Gosh, my ears look huge with these ears on. His salary drop would have to be pretty big now. I mean, and I've read that Big Ben has come out and said, like, he doesn't even care about his salary because the reality is they've got some pieces that they're going to have to re-sign. Like, does he want Juju back or what's the cost going to be? We watched that offensive line really get decimated this year. So if Big Ben is going to come back for one more year, and think about it, I believe Drew Brees and Tom Brady both played for $25 million this year. It has to be relatively cheaper than those guys. So you're looking at Big Ben cutting his salary at least in half to try and come back and play to Pittsburgh because they're going to have to pay some other pieces to make one final run. So if that's his willingness to do that, if he's willing to play for way less than market value of a starting quarterback, this makes a lot of sense for Pittsburgh. That being said, you cannot allow this to hinder your plans for the future, Pittsburgh. Like, you can't allow another year of Big Ben playing, not have a plan for who the next guy in Pittsburgh is going to be.
Listen, I understand the restructuring. I understand all of that. And I guess I'm about to drop what you call the atom bomb. Pittsburgh Steelers should be looking in the quarterback market for Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, everybody else. That's who they should be in the market for that as well, especially when you, if you cut ties with Ben or you determine that you can't find somewhere to agree, because it's a lot of quarterbacks that you can get 3 to 5 years from of high level quarterback play that can at least set you up into a point where you can win games, have a chance to compete for a championship, and then later on down the line draft the guy that's going to take the helm for the next 10, 15 years, potentially, if you don't get Deshaun Watson, who can be that guy for the next 10 years. So I think Pittsburgh has more to think about than just trying to restructure Ben's contract with all of the movement that Shefty has told us and all of the possibilities of quarterbacks that's sitting out there. I'm like, why not start now as opposed to starting later and hinging your bets on the fact that you can draft a guy or get a guy in free agency next year when this thing is wide open like it is this year. It may be just time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move on and try to find a quarterback that they can run with the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, Dan, I remember this. When the Steelers were eliminated, remember when Big Ben was speaking about his future and he almost seen Brady last winter and how all that went down? Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hit a home run if you're going to swing for one. You can't do anything special in life sitting on a fence. The question back then was, if there was a quarterback that was a free agent, who would you want? And yeah, of course it was Tom Brady, but not thinking he'd become a free agent. But once he did, it was a pursuit that we wanted to make and knew he had some interest. So, but again, If that's how you live life, I don't. You sit and live in a closet and try to be safe, or you go have some damn fun.
One thing that won't be fun, taking on this Chiefs pass rush. We've talked all season about how Brady does not perform well under pressure, and he might be in for a challenge. The Chiefs boast a 36% pressure rate. That's not only the highest rate by any team entering a Super Bowl since we started tracking pressures in 2009, but it's also the highest rate by any team in a single season in that span. So, Dan, how's this Kansas City defense so good at getting after the quarterback?
The theme in the Buffalo-Kansas City game, pressure. 27 pressures by the Kansas City defense on that Buffalo offense and Josh Allen. So how did it happen? Their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo's aggressive mindset paid off, but the details, the physicality at the point, then also the speed in which they chose to blitz really paid off. A couple teaching points for the offense. First of all, you're going to see Stephon Diggs, and he's going to go a motion across the formation. I want everyone to pay attention to the Kansas City defense. Watch. Look at now quarterbacks, whether you're a young one or an old one at home, when you send a guy in motion across the formation, and the defense does not adjust at all, they don't send somebody with them, or they don't kick numbers across, something's up. Your antennas have to go up because it's got to always be numbers based. I went from a 3-man side to a 2-man side. The defense, if there's not a blitz called, should adjust. If there is a blitz, they've got rules for the blitz more than your formation. So no one on Buffalo's offense is prepared for the pressure. Now, this is what's going to happen at the snap. They're going to send their defensive end crashing inside, and their nickel is going to blitz. Now, why does it pay off for the blitz? Why does this nickel blitzer come home? Because right when that speed meets the physicality, the offense has no idea what's going to happen to it. And when those two hands, as an offensive tackle, get on that defensive end, his job, get that tackle to commit to him. This nickelback's job, beat him with speed. Once his hands get on him, you look at that speed and that dip underneath gets home to Josh Allen, and that blitz pays off. That's 2nd and 8, and it becomes 3rd and 18 because the blitz got home. Steve Spagnuolo kept pressuring and kept pressuring. Sometimes the big fellas got home, but oftentimes it was the speed and the detail that they did it with. That's a big deal for this Super Bowl. How does Tampa Bay handle all of Kansas City's exotic secondary pressures?
So, Marcus, you actually singled out that very same play, but saw it differently. So enlighten us.
Yeah, I think it's one of the great things about working with Dan, man. We see the game differently, but a lot of similarities. And I'm gonna take you guys right back to that exact same play and talk about just the eye discipline and the things you do defensively. Here is Derek Nandy. It's a D tackle, 300 pounds. You got Sorensen on the other side and L'Jarius Sneed coming off. The guys that. But I want you to pay attention to the Kansas City Chiefs on the back end. Nandy is taking away where Josh Allen's vision is going right now. So immediately he sees 4 guys with his eyes back, but he's looking downfield, and a D tackle has taken away that throwing lane and given him enough time just to pull the ball down to get home on that blitz. The most important thing about that is what Spags is deciding to do. That is a schemed up plan to take away something that the Buffalo Bills has done all season long. Quick, easy access throws. The worst thing that a quarterback can see is a big D tackle or a D lineman flash and the rest of the defense eyes being back because it takes away that quick throw